So this week I want to talk about toxic relationships. Are you surrounded by people that are toxic and you kind of know it, but you don't do anything about it? You don't feel like you can do anything about it, or you maybe are surrounded by toxic relationships and you're not even aware of it. So if you want to find out how you can have healthy relationships and how to tell toxic relationships, I also want to talk about invalidation. What's invalidation and how is it linked with toxic relationships? If you want to find out, stay tuned. So what are toxic relationships? Well, I'll give you a couple clues. They keep you stuck in your life from growing, from going to the next level, from being the best version of yourself in your life. They drain you, they suck the energy out of you. You just talk to them and then you feel so exhausted. They create unnecessary drama. Everything is dramatic and everything's such an intense dramatic story and problems. They can also remind you of your old self who you don't want to be anymore. Maybe you have been working on being a better person, a better version of yourself, but then these old relationships remind you of your old self and bring that out again. They don't validate your feelings. So that's where invalidation comes in, which I will talk a lot more in a little bit. So your feelings are not valid, only their feelings are valid, and only what they're going through and their problems is what matters. They criticize you, okay? They criticize everything about you, and when you're failing, they're the closest to you. So when you're doing better, they're away, or they're under the radar. You can't find them. They don't celebrate your accomplishments. And the communication is not two ways. It's not like I talk and then I listen. It's just I talk and I talk and I talk and I talk. So a way that you can tell, in a way that you can start making better decisions on who you're going to allow in your life and to surround you is very important, because like that quote says, have you ever heard of, you are basically a result of the average of the 4 people that surround you. I think it's 4 or 5 that you're surrounded by the most. That's going to be you. You're the result of that. So it's very important who we surround ourselves with. So wherever you want to do in your life, you have to surround yourself with people who are doing it, who are in the same mindset, who are practicing the values you want to learn and implement. Another second tip to having healthy relationships and not only have toxic relationships, and you'll be able to tell, is but if they're only taking from you and they don't contribute and then just deplete you emotionally. And I also wanted to touch on something where, and I know it keeps a lot of people, and including myself, it keeps you stuck from going to the next level. It could be your family. But sometimes family is so hard to let go, even if they're toxic, because of the excuse their blood. Or maybe they were good with you, to you, for some time, but then they turn toxic, and then you were hoping that things will go back to the way they were, and they're not. I'm giving you permission to divorce your family, because they could keep you stuck, they could drain you, and maybe they won't like you when you're trying to better yourself anymore. When they see that you're growing and they're not, makes them uncomfortable, it makes them responsible, and it makes their story where they're stuck come out and they feel exposed, and then they don't want to grow, they don't want to do the work, and they want to keep you there with them, or they will shut you down. So it is okay to let go of toxic relationships. We can't change anyone, we can only change ourselves. And some people, and sometimes family, they get stuck in a story they keep telling themselves, they keep playing the victim, they keep creating drama, so they have a reason to justify their behaviors, and this is just going to suck you into staying at that level. And that's why sometimes it is safe and better for yourself to get rid of these toxic relationships. And you can also watch my video on personal boundaries, so you can learn how to set some boundaries, because the same rules that you apply to everyone else should be applied to family. They shouldn't get an asshole pass. They should, all these rules apply to them, because ultimately, if you're human, these are my personal boundaries, basically. Also, a way to stay in healthy relationships and spot those that are toxic is if what they're saying doesn't match their actions. Sometimes they could be saying lies they believe themselves, but we know by their actions. So I would like to leave you with two quotes. When people treat you like they don't care, believe them, because they don't. Give the gift of your absence to those who do not appreciate your presence. Don't listen to what people say, watch what they do. And ultimately, you can ask yourself, with any relationship that you have, is this relationship really assisting me to be the best version of myself? And lastly, some toxic relationships invalidate your existence, invalidate your feelings, invalidate you. Then you believe them because you might be not trusting what you feel, because you've been invalidated so long that you're just relying on other people's feedback. But what if doing that is futile? What if that's hurting you? Because what if these other people are not reliable sources to get validation from? So you're basically getting validation to your invalidation. You're going to hear them invalidate when you, and then it's going to make you feel even worse, because then you're going to feel, I shouldn't feel like that. I shouldn't feel like that, and then it's going to invalidate you. When you want to get validation on your feelings, on what your experiences, basically, and you go to sources that are not reliable, and what I mean by that is, like, if you want surgery tips, you go to a doctor. If you want to make a lot of money and be an entrepreneur, you go to someone who's successful, who has done it. You don't go with someone who has never have a business and they don't know anything about business. Or if you're looking for surgery tips, you don't just go with a teacher, or you don't go with someone who that's not their specialty, right? So those are what I mean by reliable sources. So if you just go with random people and you ask them, would you feel this way, like my experiences, and they're going to say, no, you're overreacting. Why? Because that's not their reality, that's not their experience. So they're going to invalidate you. You're going to feel worse. So, for example, I'm a highly sensitive person, and I can get, some things can make me sad that other people don't. So I'm not going to look for feedback for someone who didn't get sad, because they're going to deny my experience. And we also have to remember that people also could have embedded beliefs, limiting beliefs, and conditioning from the way they grew up, or things that they perceive the world through, they see the reality through. And we also have to learn to know that ourselves, right? Know thyself. So when we know ourselves, we will be able to see others for what they are with non-judgment, but we will also be able to spot their limiting beliefs, and we're not going to believe them. We're going to see that they're coming from their own experiences that could or could not be true. And be careful of invalidation, because what this is when your family or people dismiss your feelings, undermine your feelings, and they tell you that your feelings are not acceptable. And this is very evil, because this means that they get to treat you the way they want, and they can maneuver the situation so you don't get the appropriate responses. It is very cruel, because it leaves you with a lot of doubt of listening to your feelings, right? You don't know what you're thinking or feeling, you doubt it, and then that's not good, because your feelings are what is helping you navigate. We don't trust our own fears, we don't trust anything that we feel, which are necessary steps to protect ourselves. And we end up feeling like we're abnormal or twisted, because whatever we're feeling is not normal and wrong. Then we absorb the message that is wrong to have them. And some clues are when these people that are masters of invalidation, they tell you, be happy, smile, cheer up, grow up, get over it. Don't cry, don't worry, don't be sad, stop whining, don't get angry, deal with it. Give it a rest, forget about it. Stop being so emotional. Don't be so sensitive. Don't be so dramatic. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Stop taking everything so personally. So these are examples of invalidation. Someone who's invalidating you will tell you, because they just like you when you're happy, when you're good, when you're okay. They're also ordering you to look differently. Don't look so sad. Don't look so down. Don't make that face. Look at your face in the mirror. Look at the expressions you're making in the mirror. Don't look so pleased with yourself. And then they're denying your perception and defending. Got it all wrong. But I do listen to you. That is ridiculous. I was only kidding. That's not the way things are. And then they make you feel guilty for invalidating you. I try to help you. At least I, blah, blah, blah. At least you, blah, blah, blah. You're making everyone else miserable. Then they try to isolate you. You're the only one that feels that way. It doesn't bother anyone else, only you. Minimizing your feelings. You must be kidding. You can't be serious. It can't be that bad. You're just being difficult. You're just in a bad mood. There's nothing to be upset over. And using reason. There's no reason to get upset. You're not being rational. It doesn't make any sense to feel that way. Evading. I don't always do that. Not that bad. Not that serious. It's not that far. Judging and labeling you. You're a crybaby. You're an adult now. You have a problem. You are too sensitive. You're overreacting. You're too emotional. You're impossible to talk to. You're hopeless. Telling you how you should feel. You should be thrilled. You should be excited. You should be grateful. You should be glad that blah, blah, blah. You should be happy that blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't wear your heart on your sleeve, etc., etc. And if you want to learn more about invalidation, I'm quoting, the source is daughtersof narcissistic mothers.com.